Scrappers. Today I want to share some artsy things that you can do in Photoshop Elements. We are going to be working today with the OSnap kit. This kit has been free as a daily download on my blog in the month of July 2012, and in August will be available in my store, and I'll link that up in the credits. The second one, the item that we're going to use is the OSnap word bits, some generic little word bits about memories. I'm going to make this layout today to show you some of these techniques. A popular trend right now is to do kind of an artsy thing where you can kind of see things doodled near the or drawn near the edges in the black and white style with a little bit of color filled in, but it's not necessarily filled in as actual color. It's almost filled in like it were painted on there, and so that's the look we're going to go for. There's actually several ways that you can do this. There's even some plugins that make things a little easier. So today I'm just going to show you the most simple way to do it. Okay, the first thing that you need is a plain generic piece of paper to start with. It can be can have some color to it, but not too much. You could pick something that was more off-white or had a little bit more of a not a repetitive pattern to it, but a little bit more texture or character to it. Because I wanted to do my Seattle pictures and the skyline, there's a lot of blue to it. I didn't want to put it on too much of a yellow antique look, so I chose the OSnap paper white. And then I just picked one of my photos of the Seattle skyline. Now, one of the things that I know from working with this is that I want to just focus on the area about like this. I want the Space Needle included and not much, because of the composition of this photo is not great. Hey, we were on a boat. I just snapped whatever I could find. I just want kind of this area, and I want it to be, I'm going to want it to be a little bit bigger than that. So I'm going to show you a technique for enlarging photos that doesn't lose quality. I learned this when I was a photographer. We want to change the image size. Go under Image, Resize Image Size. If you change it and only up it by 10% at a time, the algorithms inside of Photoshop and Photoshop Elements make modifications that way that do not distort or pixelate. It's your best bet for enlarging photos. So you can change either the width or the height to 110 and then change it to percent. And hit OK. And that will enlarge it a bit. And I think I want to do it one more time. And so again, it's under Image, Resize Image Size. Change it to 110%, and it'll grow it each time by 10% bigger. Okay, that's probably going to be as big as I need it. So now let's drag that down onto our white paper and place it about where I want it. Okay, now comes the fun and creative part. The first thing we want to do is, so that I can come back to this picture if I need to, I'm going to leave it the way it is. But I want another layer like this. So I'm going to hold down my Alt key, and in my Layers palette I'm going to drag up another copy. This one I'm going to make disappear for a while because I will need it later. Okay, the first thing that we need to do is add a filter. We want the one that is Sketch, Photocopy. Now, if your background colors are not black and white in the right order, you will get something that does not look like a photocopy. So make sure that you have black as your foreground color and white as your background color. And now let's do that. It's under Sketch, Photocopy. Let's run that filter again. As far as what details you need on here, you can adjust the detail or the darkness. I'm just going with the standard defaults, which are 7 for detail and 8 for darkness. Okay, that changes that to black and white. Now, the next thing that I want to do is again have a copy of my photo, and I'm going to hold down my Alt key to make a copy of it and drag it up on top again. This time the filter I want is under Artistic, Paint Daubs. You could play with different ones. Again, there's lots of different options here that would create an artistic look. I'm just showing you a simple way to do it. Let's zoom in so that we can see how these details work. When you increase the brush size, you get more larger chunks of things. When you increase or decrease sharpness, will make the photo more or less sharp. And so I went with a brush size of something like 7. I want it to be a little bit artistic looking but not lose a lot of the detail. And on sharpness, I think I went with 2 or 3 so that I don't want it to be too fuzzy, but I don't want it to be exact either. Again, because this is an artsy look, those numbers aren't that important, and you do get to play with it if you like. Okay, so there's my paint daubs. Now, the order in my layers palette should go photocopy on top, then paint daubs, and then this one right here that's hidden is my actual photograph. Okay, now we are going to use, I'm using Photoshop Elements 9. We're going to use the layer mask feature to do the next part. And so I want to add a layer mask to my photocopy layer, and I want to make that disappear. And so let's go ahead and use, with black as our foreground color, let's do Alt Delete, and it will fill that layer with black. And what that did is make the whole thing disappear. But I want to paint back in some of the part that I want to keep. I'm going to click on the eyeball icon to shut off my paint daubs layer, but I'm going to turn on the actual photograph layer. Make sure you've selected that layer and turn your opacity down. I just need to know where it is, but I want to be able to see the detail with what I'm painting in on my photocopy layer. Okay, now make sure your photocopy layer is selected and click on the layer mask thumbnail. You can use any brush that you like with an artistic look to it. I'm just going to use the soft round brush, and I have it set at 700 pixels, but you can, this is part of where you get to be creative and choose whatever you like. And I need the white to be my foreground color so that I can paint with white. If I hit X, it will swap those two around. And then I just want to paint back in some of the detail here. I don't want to get too close to the edge, and I don't want it to be exactly round. I kind of want to come down a little bit extra here, and kind of the whole point is my Space Needle, so I'm going to paint in kind of about like that. And again, you can play with this. If you find that you painted too much, hit the X again, so you're painting with black, and you can touch up around the edges again. Okay, so that gives me my outline of what I want it to look like. Now that photocopy layer is actually black and white, and I don't want the white to show up because I don't want it to cover up my color. So I'm going to go ahead and change the blending mode on that one to darken, and that way all of the white will disappear and I just get the black lines. Now we're going to do a similar thing with our paint daubs layer. So first, let's shut off our the visibility on our actual photograph, because now I know where the Space Needle is on there. And turn back on our paint daubs layer. Select that layer, add a layer mask using the layer mask icon down here in the bottom. And again, we need it to be black. So let's hit X so that we have our black as our foreground color, and then hit Alt Delete, and it'll change that to black. Again, we need to hit X because we're going to paint back with white. Click on the layer mask itself so that you're painting there. I'm going to lower my brush size to 500 pixels because I want to go a little bit smaller, and I want this to have more of a painted look, so I'm going to go ahead and lower the opacity to about 50%. I can always double paint in areas if I want it to be a little brighter in those areas, but I want it to kind of fade in and out and look more of a watercolor look. And so when you're painting, you want the drawn part, the black and white photocopy layer, to be a little bit bigger. So as you're doing this, don't quite go to the same edges. You're going to be painting roughly the same shape as before, but you don't want the edges. You want the black and white drawn area to be a little bit bigger. Well, I want that to be a little more wispy there. Okay, that looks like I've got things about what I'm looking for. I'm going to hit X and go back in and see if, and make my brush really large and kind of fade out this water area a little bit more. And then I'm going to switch it back to white and paint back in the water area. I just want that to be a little more gradual there. Okay, I think that's what I'm looking for. Now I'm going to use my Move tool and position these two layers where I want them. So I've got the paint daubs layer selected. I'm going to hold down Shift so that I have both of those two together. Then I'm going to right click in my layers palette and choose link layers so that those two cannot kind of get off of each other. And I'm going to make sure that my photo is in, remember in our rule of thirds, I want the center of the photo, or right where that Space Needle is, to be a third of the way in and about a third of the way down for my focal point of my layout. So let's put that about right there. Then, because this is kind of artsy, I just want to add a couple other little details. And so from the Oh Snap Word Art, I want the One Fine Day. Let's go ahead and drag that down. And I think I'm going to position that about right here. I need it to be visible, so that looks about the right spot. And then there's also a little aqua flower in that kit as well that will just add a little bit more touch. I could staple it down or something like that, but I kind of like how this one will look right here. Let's rotate it just a smidgen so it doesn't cover up the letters and move it down with the nudge tool till I get it right where I want it. Okay, those two elements need a bit of a shadow on them, and so I'll use the small flower. I'll use the small flower shadow style from the Me and My Shadows, and on the tag I'll use the paper one. And there we go. There is our artsy layout in a simple version. My name is Shell, and I teach digital scrapbooking classes and have digital scrapbooking products at scraporchard.com. If you're looking for more information, you can find me at shells-creations.com, or you can shoot me an email at shells.creations1@gmail.com. I also have free tutorials on my YouTube channel. Be sure you subscribe so that you'll be one of the first to know when I have a new YouTube video. Thanks!